for-profit media and the for-profit component is clearly at the heart of the problem. There's one thing that does trump profit for-profit media, and that's their overall class interest of who owns it. This story would have been very profitable. If you could have broken that the Navy shot down this plane, CBS would have had millions of viewers, and they would have made a lot of money out of your story. But their overall interest trumped it. We have a story right now, or just a few weeks ago we interviewed Senator Bob Graham, who was the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He was the joint chair of the Congressional investigation into the 9/11 events. And he had said some of what he told us before, but he told us some new things. But he essentially said that, number one, the Saudi government, not rogue princes, but the Saudi government was directly involved in financing and helping facilitate the 9/11 attacks. And this is a very senior guy. Bob Graham, after he left the Senate, was appointed by Leon Panetta to become on the external advisory board to the CIA.
Well, he was on the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Well, he was the chair of the Senate Intelligence
yeah,
Committee.
Yeah.
This is an inside guy who was
guy.
Top inside national security guy. In our interview, he laid out the entire thing. He went further than he'd gone previously in a book, but he went even further because we've done many stories on how much information was suppressed about investigations prior to 9/11 that gave rise to information that something was coming. There appears to be evidence that there was a culture created of not wanting to know. And I asked Graham directly, we talked about some of the examples of pre-9/11 findings by military intelligence, the FBI, CIA, Colleen Rowley in Minneapolis. There's many examples. And I said, do you think, coming from the White House, well, first of all, I said, if you're saying the Saudi government was involved in all of this, then Prince Bandar, who was the Saudi ambassador, how could he not be in on it? And Graham goes, mm-hmm. And I said, well, Bandar he was called the honorary member of the Bush family. They called him Bush Bandar. He used to go socialize. Right. He was there in the White House regularly. He had more access to the president than most senior officials of the US government. I mean, he's sitting there with the president, and he knows or is involved in this and doesn't say anything. And Graham goes, mm-hmm. And then I said, well, do you think there was a deliberate attempt to create a culture within the American intelligence agencies of not wanting to know? And his answer was, and he's never said this before, as far as I know, he said, if all the players on a football field are running in one direction, there's got to be a coach. So it's as close as he could possibly come, I think, to say that. So we sent out press releases to all the mainstream media. This is like a month ago, month and a half ago. And we quoted what he'd said. Now, it doesn't matter whether you think he's right or wrong. He's just too big an insider to say such a thing for it not to be a news story. It would be profitable for someone to pick up that story and chase it. But it's not in the interest of the owners of these big media conglomerates to buck all the interests that are tied up with suppressing this kind of information. Just the short of it is we have an economic model that allows us to do this because we don't take government funding, and we don't. This may be news to all of you. We do not make nuclear submarines. You may have thought so because we have a big building here now. Well, it's possible, but
I have to say something. And I told Philippe that I was going to say this. This is what makes me the most unpopular journalist in this country. Okay, is that we can talk about the corporate structure and the corruption of the corporate structure and the profit motive and so on and so forth. But what's never talked about, and what I truly believe has to be addressed, is the personal corruption of each and every journalist who goes along with this game.
Right.
Because I know myself what I am going through right now since my film has come out. We are being attacked in the most ridiculous, false, propagandistic ways by, most recently by New York Magazine, Jeffrey Gray and this conspiracy theory compendium that they did in New York Magazine that they included us in, and popular mechanics is a big one. But anyway, on our website, flight800doc.org, you can go see where we respond, particularly to the majors and to some of the television coverage. We respond with point-by-point rebuttals, and we send those rebuttals to those reporters and to their bosses, and we speak about it publicly. We put out their names publicly because in the end, okay, there's the bricks and mortar, there's Sumner Redstone up here and everything, but in the end, each and every journalist puts his or her name to the report that goes out that's not true, or that is, is propaganda,
partially true, but never the whole context.
Yeah, I wanted to riff on profit and what you were saying. It's a truism that corporate media is about profits. Even the purveyors of corporate media will say that, and then they say that they're giving the public what they want. Well, they don't give the public what the public wants. The public wants, and the polls have showed it consistently, something like Medicare for all. It usually is around 60%, sometimes more. Instead, the corporate media treats that as if it's not an option at all. As was said earlier, the public does not want war, and yet the corporate media feed us war, 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 and more war. But where they get their profits from is from monopolization, which is why you have those 5 folks staking out the whole game. What the corporations actually are trying to do is to create, and this has been going on for a very long time, this is why they have J schools, is they try to create a public consensus for the business world view and for businesses' plans for the future. And as the corporations move rightward, so does their media. They are not responding first and foremost to government. They respond to the boardrooms, and the government is responding to those same boardrooms as well. So when you look into your television set, you are looking into the guts of a corporation.